Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Flywire's Chats Without Borders, the chance for us to sit down and talk with leaders and experts from around the international education space to discuss some of the international student experiences, as well as some tips and advice for how students can thrive once they arrive abroad. The goal for these chats is to provide, a really informal and relaxed discussion and get some real, genuine advice and feedback from people who have seen it, people even who have lived it. So today we're joined by Joann Ng Hartmann, Senior Impact Officer at NAFSA, and I'll let her quickly introduce herself and then we'll get going.
Great. Thanks so much, Wilson, for inviting me here and to have this chat with you. I'm excited. I'm excited to, see the future chats and to listen to others as well. I appreciate the opportunity. Again, as you mentioned, I'm the Senior Impact Officer at NAFSA Association of International Educators. And what we do here is serve the advisors who are supporting international students coming into the US, be it recruitment or be it orientation or just academic advising and as an example. So really thrilled to be here with you and the audience.
I'm really excited to get the chance to talk to you, somebody who actually educates the educators, right? That's a really fun one. So I guess we'll start off the conversation with, a little bit of your background. So you haven't always been in this role. Where were you previously?
So previously, I was at the University of Tennessee working directly with international students, if you will, having been an international student myself. So I've lived the experience, and then I became an international student advisor, and then worked my way up into working with, in charge of an office and programs such as orientation and regulatory immigration advising, regulatory compliance, working with other academic units and also student life units within the campus just to build that experience for students and knowing how important it is for students to be successful when they come on campus. Even before they come to campus, you have to build those bridges, you have to communicate, you have to provide information. And so my role there was very meaningful in the sense of, being able to build those and then seeing my students graduate. That's, those special times or meeting their families when the families come for graduation. Those are all really, really meaningful experiences for me.
Yeah. So, you mentioned you've kind of been through each step of it. How have you seen international education and kind of the resources for international students change and evolve as you've gone from student to, your current role?
Oh, a lot has changed because, I was a student many, many, many moons ago, decades ago, right? And that experience was quite different, but I think it shaped me for who I am and the role I'm in today, very much so. Much has changed. I think there's a lot of focus on the student experience. Not that there wasn't then, but it wasn't as intentional, it wasn't as strategic. So, what I see now is a lot of thought and effort and intentionality put into strategies and support systems. There are way more support systems on a campus now for international students and scholars when they come to campuses, and even within the communities, right? Within the communities, there are extensive sort of support services that institutions reach out to as well, such as host family programs or even just volunteer groups, right, that come on campus. So I think there's a lot more intentionality and thinking about that whole student experience. It wasn't like my time when you just came on campus, you went to the international office, and then there's some programs and then off you go.
Yeah.
Now there are many more, I would say, connecting points between, the admissions office, the academic advising office, the judicial office, or career services, right? So
Yeah.
there's a lot more sort of a whole of student approach to make sure that, again, the student is successful and has a good experience to build them for what they want to achieve in the future.
So I want to kind of drill in on that a little bit, actually. About kind of getting the most out of education. What does that success to you kind of look like? What is a successful international student experience?
I think that, in our times, and I understand like rankings matter a lot, right, in the decision-making process. But I think more importantly, I would like to see a student feel like they're at home, that they fit in, that they have what they're looking for in terms of that they're learning, but not only learning in the classroom, but learning outside the classroom, being able to participate and be involved in activities, be able to contribute to the communities that they're in, being able to teach others about their own experiences and their cultures and where they come from, right? So I think for me that's most important in terms of looking at what success is. And of course it's individual, it's unique. Yes, you come here for a degree, you invest a lot of time and money and effort
Mhm.
into it, but I think to make the most out of it, you have to look outside of academics and just pure classroom, but looking for those opportunities to where you can learn from your community, you can contribute back to your community, and be it the larger local community or your campus community. And I think that many institutions nowadays have built in those structures or ways for students to be able to connect to those.
That's exciting to hear, and I'm sure like all the students that are going to be listening to this are going to be really excited to just know that those exist now, right? Because I feel like even as a domestic student in the U.S., I had no idea what I was getting myself into, and I can
Hmm.
hardly imagine coming from somewhere like a completely different country, right, and studying. So I actually want to drill a little bit more into, you mentioned success on campus. What does it look like on the, post grad side? What are you seeing any changes in trends or kind of different, uh, you know, challenges or opportunities that are arising for international students?
Yep. I think the career services, so in terms of trends, what I've seen, there's again been more investment from the school side into that career services piece. And career services and career centers on campuses, making the extra effort to reach out to international students because the needs are slightly different, because culturally it is a very different process in terms of job searches or how you write your resume and how you prepare for an interview. So I think there's more, again, that word intentionality put into that thought. So I think that if students don't make use of career services or tap into those services and benefits that they get as a student, they're missing out on a very important piece of that success of that academic journey. And I think that employers really recognize now, that international students bring a lot to the table and contribute a lot in many, many ways. And it's not just the technical knowledge, but it's also, the soft skills, the resiliency, right? The cultural adjustment piece they've overcome when graduation comes. They've really done all of those soft skills part that I think shine. And I think certain employers know that and understand that, but unfortunately not all understand that because they have this fear, I think, of dealing with the paperwork, unfortunately, which bureaucratically and time wise, I think it is daunting. And that's why some of the work that NAFSA does is to try to make our regulatory immigration and policy
Yeah.
process smoother for international students.
That's an interesting trend just on the resiliency, just the value of an international education because it shows that you are willing to one put yourself in a potentially uncomfortable situation and overcome it. I mean, that's come up time and time again in these chats as just a very common thread. So it's good to hear that that's still something that your organization is kind of focusing on, really trying to highlight. And to bring it around, what as an educator to the educators for the students, what are some things that you're teaching now? What are some things that you're hoping to promote and kind of hearing that people want to learn more about?
So I think, again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. I'm kind of repeating myself here, but I think in terms of, again, thinking through the whole process, that the schools are not siloed in here's the admissions office, here's the career services, here's, academic affairs, but that they all work in sync for the student, right? And that really examining whether those pieces fit and
Mhm.
whether there's collaboration versus silo work. And that, again, what is the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal for all of us should be about the successful experiences of the international students, right? I think more and more schools, again, intentionally and with strategy in mind, do that outreach, right? That is why you see alumni also coming in to that piece of outreach to international students, or parent groups that have had students graduate and then they have parents locally that talk about the experiences of their own children. So I think that's something to look for when you are looking for, at institutions to apply to, that whether there is that synergy of a whole school approach. You don't want to just focus on how do I get in, but
Yeah.
what is that experience after you get in? What is there after I get in? And then during my years as a sophomore, junior, senior, whatever it is, right? What are the opportunities? Do they talk about those? Are they laid out for me
Mhm.
as to me as an international student? How do they support myself there to succeed in what I've set out to achieve?
I think that is incredible advice just for, I mean, anybody, not just looking for higher education, but looking for anything in life, right? Trying to find that intentionality, trying to find that that whole kind of school approach, just like you said. And I want to wrap it up. I guess bring it all the way back around to your beginnings. What are one or two things that you wish you had known before you'd gone to study abroad?
Oh, that's a tough one. What I wish I had known. I mean, hindsight is 2020, obviously,
Yeah.
but I think I, you know, you don't have to be a certain personality to take
Mhm.
advantage of, be outgoing and be chatty and talkative and all that kind of stuff. The great thing about a US education is that there's an opportunity for every type of person, every individual, no matter how unique. What I appreciated a lot was just being able to go to the international office, sit there, clear my mind, hang out and relax, and if I needed help, I knew that someone was there, right? And in hindsight, if I had known more of that, I would have been there more,
Yeah.
just to make those connections and just to be able to, and not, in one sense, not hang out with a clique of just international students,
Yeah.
but that everybody, right, should be a potential friend that you encounter. And that you yourself have the power and you empower yourself to make those connections and network and find those opportunities, because it's not just going to fall on your lap,
Mhm.
but that you are able to do those things in your own way, and that's possible.
I think that is a great way to wrap this up. The common themes that just I think came up time and again in your experience and also what you're doing now is really that connectivity, building bridges, and being really intentional. That intentionality, not from you, from the school, from anybody involved. And I think those are two incredible pieces of advice. And I'm so happy we got to sit down and talk and just hear about what's going on in international education, your experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Wilson, for the opportunity to contribute.